So here we are, the second day of our vacation with the Medicine Buddha. Okay, no beach, no surfboard, but it's beautiful here anyway, isn't it? Yeah. The food may not be like a 5-star hotel, or is it? Yeah, but being able to take time out of your life, and not act. I don't even want to call it take time out of your life. To make your life spiritual inquiry. It's not like you have your life and then you take time out and you do something spiritual and then you go back to the way you were before, but rather to really adjust the priorities we have and put our time into doing something useful, looking at our own mind, figuring out what our values are. Or we may have our values figured out, but they need some adjustment. Yeah. I just got an email from a long-time Dharma student who was telling me about the great goodness of this thing, something called toad now. It's like ayahuasca. And it's like, yeah, okay. Kind of this experience where one with the universe and you die and you're reborn and like that. But if it doesn't make you a kinder person, what use is it? Yeah, you can have all sorts of experiences of bliss, and there's lots of intoxicants that make you have them. Yeah, but if you can't become a kinder person in your life, and treat other people better and be more respectful and keep precepts, then to me, I don't know, these kind of experiences don't mean a lot. They come and they go, like all sorts of other fantastic experiences we have in samsara. Yeah. And personally speaking, what I'm looking for is some kind of change that can endure over time, which takes a lot more effort. Okay. One time when I was in Hong Kong, and I was asked to speak at the American school or the British school there. Okay. So, I gave a little talk and then some little boy, raises his hand. And this was in the days of Uri Geller. And this little boy says, "Can you bend spoons?" Because that's what Uri Geller could do from a distance, was bend spoons. And I said, I think much to his disappointment, "No, I can't. But if I bent spoons, probably the person who wanted to use the spoon wouldn't be very happy." Yeah, and I'm more interested in doing things that will contribute to people's happiness. Yeah, rather than bend spoons or make things appear or disappear or whatever. Okay, so yeah, so that's why we're here. And, it's a special time, to have a situation like this where you don't have so many outside distractions. Yeah, I mean, the mind is one big distraction, but at least, from the external circumstances, you're offline for a week. That's great, isn't it? Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. Believe it or not, the earth will survive without being online. Yeah. Amazing, isn't that? I mean, how does that happen? It seems like, but if I am not current on everything, then the world's going to collapse. The world does very fine without us. You know? Okay, so we'll start off again, creating the visualization with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front, ourselves surrounded by all the sentient beings. And think again, and this is something to really integrate in our mind, that it may look like a lot of sentient beings, and we form them into one big mass, but they're actually individuals. And each and every one of those individuals wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer. And that is the one most essential thing that you know about everybody. And when you know that, and it is awake in your mind, that this is the really what motivates everything people do. It's the wish for happiness and not suffering. When you keep that in your mind, then it becomes very difficult to be judgmental, very difficult to be angry. Because we see that people are just like us. Nobody wants suffering, everybody wants happiness. And who can blame them? And people may be very confused about what brings happiness and what brings suffering. In fact, there's tremendous confusion in the world about this. But we can still wish everybody well and have compassion for them despite their ignorance. Because we're in the same boat of ignorance too. But right now we have some clarity in our mind that can see some of the ignorance that is trapping us. And so we want to do our best to free ourselves from that. And by freeing ourselves to become fully awakened beings. Not so that we can bliss out on fantastic experiences, but so that we can be really effective in benefiting others. So come back to your motivation of compassion for yourself and for all living beings, knowing that all of us have the ability to become fully awakened Buddhas. And yet at the moment we're under the influence of ignorance, afflictions, and polluted karma, which really inhibit our happiness and our potential. And so make a determination to overcome that, to become fully awakened and work for the benefit of others. And attending teachings and meditating and discussing today are one step in that direction. That you're going in that direction with a very sincere motivation. So it's important as we're cultivating compassion for living beings to remember to distinguish somebody's behavior from the actual person who does that behavior. Because they're two different things. Okay, the behavior is an action, okay, that has a motivation. The person is a living being who wants happiness and not suffering. When sentient beings are overwhelmed by ignorance and anger and clinging attachment, they often do quite negative or inappropriate actions. So we can call the actions harmful, call the actions inappropriate, okay? Call the actions negative, but that doesn't mean the person is bad or evil or irredeemable. So we have to be very careful when we talk about other people that we don't talk about the person. We talk about the actions. Okay. Now we may think, well, I am just mad at those actions, because they did this and they did that and they did the other thing. But as soon as you say they, you're mad at the person. So as much as you tell yourself, I'm not mad, I'm just saying what this person did and that those actions are inappropriate. In your mind, are you peaceful and tranquil? Or are you slamming somebody? So it sounds like you're talking about the action, but the implication is this person is horrible. Okay. When we see other sentient beings as horrible, then we usually reify that and make them inherently horrible, permanently horrible, irredeemably horrible. So my anger, my feeling of repugnancy is totally justified. Okay, and then what happens? When you have that kind of attitude towards somebody, what happens to your mind? Even you hear the person's name. Person isn't there, they may be on Mars, but even you hear their name, you get angry. Have you experienced that? Yeah. And you can spend a whole meditation session meditating, in quotes, it's not real meditation, on the attributes of this person. They did this, and they did this, and they always do that, and this is it, and this. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I don't want them in my life. They've got to get out of here. This is terrible. It's driving me crazy. And then you hear. And then you're supposed to dedicate the merit. What merit was there in your quote, quote, meditation? Yeah. Usually when that happens and you hear, then, and you open your eyes and you realize that everything you've been visualizing and thinking is not here, there's a feeling of relief. Because who likes to be stuck in an angry mind? Okay? Now, you may wonder why in the Medicine Buddha practice, we visualize the Medicine Buddha and we talk about the Medicine Buddha's good qualities. Okay? Because it's the same mechanism as when we recite to ourselves the faults of somebody we don't like. Yeah, the Medicine Buddha's in our mind and we're going through his qualities, except they're virtuous qualities. When we think about virtuous qualities, what happens in our mind? Yeah, we feel inspired, we feel relaxed, we feel thankful that there's beings like the Medicine Buddha in the universe. We feel totally the opposite than when we think of the person we don't like and recite all their faults. But you see, both of them involve, we have a mental image of either the person or the Buddha, Medicine Buddha, and then we recite to ourselves their qualities. Okay. Now, why is it so easy to recite the faults of somebody we don't like and not get bored with it and recite the faults over and over and over again? But when we have to think about the qualities of the Medicine Buddha, we get bored and reciting something once is good enough. We don't have to do it over and over and over again. Why? Isn't that crazy? Does that seem to you crazy? Yeah? We love sitting there and, thinking about the bad qualities of somebody and getting ourselves all revved up about it. And yet, thinking about the virtuous qualities of a Buddha, okay, I recited that prayer once. I recite that every day. Yeah, what's up? It's really interesting, isn't it? How our mind operates. So sometimes, people who come to Tibetan Buddhism, especially if they've done Goenka or Vipassana before, they say, you people, you're visualizing stuff, you're reciting things. Aren't you supposed to meditate? Yeah, how is that meditation? Well, meditation means to familiarize ourselves with a virtuous object. When you familiarize yourself with the qualities of the Medicine Buddha, that's what you're doing. Okay? And it's very skillful to use the same method that we use for the people we don't like, except this time for our object of refuge, for our role model, the person we want to be like. Okay? To use that same mechanism, but we flip it and use it for something virtuous. Okay? So if you want to ruminate, instead of ruminating about things that bug you crazy or make you crazy, like the person put the vacuum cleaner in the wrong closet, these world-shaking events, or somebody rear-ended me, how dare they? Again, national catastrophe. Yeah, instead of ruminating about that, switch your attention to the qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and think about them again and again. Okay? And watch the difference in your mind when you do that. Okay? People also, when they come to Tibetan Buddhism, you guys recite mantras. So how long do I have to say this? But when we are reciting all the harmful things somebody else did to us, how they, betrayed our trust, how they mistreated us, how they weren't loyal, how they, hit us when we were very vulnerable, everything, that we can't stand. Again, we don't tire of repeating it to ourselves again and again and again, do we? We can say it again and again. And especially, when you go through things that happened in childhood. My mother did this, my mother did this, my mother did this. My father did this, my father did this. All day long we can recite that. I am so screwed up because my pet dog this. I have so many problems because my siblings did this. And we repeat it over and over and over again, and we don't get tired. Yeah? What about if we said Tayatel Bhikkhati Ma Bhikkhati Rasa Samagati Soha over and over and over again, and thought about the meaning of the mantra? It's a mantra for healing. Yeah? In your discussion group yesterday, you talked about what does healing mean? What would I feel like if I healed from all these things that I keep dragging along with me in my life? Yeah? What about if I put these things down? They are not happening now. Okay? What would happen if I put them down and I let myself heal? And I took refuge in the medicine Buddha and just recited his mantra, so that whenever my mind starts chattering about, all the horrible things that have happened to me and how people don't appreciate me after everything I've done for them, then we see that, we switch, we start reciting the mantra. It's the same mechanism, reciting over and over and over again, except we're changing what we're reciting. And that changes our mind. So try that, yeah? When you catch yourself ruminating about something. In the Abbey, our common joke is about the spatula. There was somebody here who governed the kitchen. And when you put the spatula in the wrong place, you heard about it. Okay. When you put the wooden spoon in the wrong space also, or a pot in the wrong place, because there were right and wrong places for these things to go. And, but especially the spatula. So our joke is, when we get so upset about where the spatula got put. Yeah. Now we might say, but, okay, well, the spatula got put, that's why do you get so upset about that? But then, when somebody does something we don't like, we get very upset about that. Now, what's the difference between where the spatula got put and somebody telling you off? Well, my feelings weren't hurt. I didn't feel deprecated. I didn't feel abandoned. I didn't feel unjustly criticized when they put the spatula in the wrong place. But I do feel that way when somebody tells me off. Yeah, okay. Some people might feel very upset when they tell you where to put the spatula and you put it in the wrong place. Like you don't listen to them, you don't respect them. It borders on neglecting them and not appreciating them when you put the spatula exactly where they told you not to put it. And they look at it. You put it there deliberately because you knew that would annoy me. Yeah. And the whole universe treats me like that, doing things deliberately to annoy me. Do you see how the mind would start? It starts out with the spatulas there, and then it goes and it imputes a horrible motivation on somebody else. And then it blows it up to the whole universe treats me like that. Okay. When somebody tells you off, it's basically the same. They start out with some statement. Yeah. The famous one, I won't use that one. I asked you to do this favor for me. It's very easy, photocopy this stuff for me. Yeah, like put the spatula in this place. And then you forgot to, or the other person forgot to photocopy it. But I asked you to photocopy it. I think you're passive-aggressive because I really needed that photocopy. And you have a good memory, and I asked you to do it. And then you didn't do it. This is your passive-aggressive behavior. And our whole relationship has been like that. Yeah. You look out like you're nice to me, but whenever you can, you stab me in the back. And you blow the whole thing gets totally blown up. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's the spatula or forgetting the photocopy. Our mind builds things up to make them international catastrophes. Why? Because they concern me. And whatever happens to me is the most important thing in the world. Don't you agree? Yeah. And so, then we get into, I have my right to be angry. What is it? Life, liberty, and the right to be angry and hate other people. Excuse me, that wasn't written in the founding documents, but that's the way some people are acting. The mind blows things up, yeah, and creates misery for ourselves and others. Okay, so this is part of the stuff we're trying to dismantle, and this is why, like on Friday night, we had the teachings about the mental factors, because identifying these different mental factors and then learning the antidotes to them and learning how to change what we focus on, and see things in a more realistic way, in a more beneficial way, then this can help us stop this constant cycle. So that leads into the first question that is on my question list left over from yesterday, which is there a specific reason why samsara is depicted as an ocean? Isn't it cyclical suffering? Okay. The way our mind is reacting to everything, grasping, pushing, okay? The way we constantly create misery for ourselves and others, and the way it isn't just misery in this life, but we keep creating the cause to get born and be born and reborn, okay? So samsara is said to be like an ocean because it is so huge. And getting to crossing that ocean, is difficult. Okay. Now, I grew up in California. I went to the beach a lot. You stand on the edge of the beach and you look out into the water and you can't see land. And you know that even you went out a long way into the Pacific and looked out again, you still wouldn't see land. Pacific's pretty big. So samsara is even bigger. Getting across the Pacific is difficult. Okay, I couldn't do it alone. Even if I knew how to, I can swim, but not that far. And I wouldn't even know the direction to go in. I'd probably just head towards the setting sun, But samsara is an ocean. We need a guide to cross it. And we need a lot of internal strength to get across. And it's huge. Samsara is huge. Bigger than the ocean. Okay, then the second question was, if one moment of mind is produced by the previous moment of mind and not by the body, then how do you account for why drinking alcohol affects the mind? When we say that one moment, when we say one moment of mind produces the next moment of mind, that's talking about one thing being the substantial cause of another. The substantial cause means it's the basic thing that produces the next moment in the continuum. Okay? It doesn't mean it's the only cause. Everything that exists has multiple causes and multiple conditions. Okay? So the wood might be the substantial cause of the table, but you also need nails, you need wood cutting equipment, you need the carpenter, you need a workshop, you need many other things. So those things are not the substantial cause. Okay, the carpenter doesn't turn into the table. Or are you in there somewhere? But those cooperative conditions are needed. Okay, so in the same way, one moment of mind, not the physical body, is the substantial cause for the next moment of mind. But then there's all these other cooperative causes. And when we're alive, our body and mind influence each other. That's quite evident, okay? When we're ill, usually mentally, we don't feel so good. Body influences the mind. When mentally we're happy, then even If our body is sick, it doesn't bother us too much. The mind influences the body. Okay? So in this thing too, one moment of mind produces another moment of mind. But when you take intoxicants, that influences the mind too. Okay? Because the mind and the brain have a relationship. The brain is not the mind. Okay? You don't put a brain out here and say, that brain, I can sense the compassion that brain is radiating. Yeah? Do you feel compassion when you look at a brain? Yeah? Even you had the Buddha's brain out there, would you say, well, what a compassionate brain. It really impacts me. No. Okay. But the brain does have some relationship with the consciousness. Okay? So it's like that. If you drink, it changes physiological functions which influence the brain, which influence the consciousness. Okay, back to Medicine Buddha. So I hope you're getting some idea about why we visualize the Medicine Buddha, why we recite the mantra, why we make requests. The whole sadhana, and the word sadhana is a Sanskrit word. It means like the text or the manual that describes the meditative practice of a certain Buddha. So it's actually a very astute psychological process to do this. And it's kind of, when you do a sadhana, it's like it's a mental workout. So you may go jogging every day, or you may go to the gym every day because you want to keep your body healthy. And you work out, you give your muscles a workout, and you know that helps you stay healthy. When we do a sadhana, we're doing a mental workout. Okay? Yeah, it's a workout, isn't it? You are using your mind in a specific way to think about and imagine and experience things that are going to make you mentally healthy. Yeah. So it's like going to the gym, and it's free. And you have the Medicine Buddha there instead of some trainer. I love that picture of Ruth Bader Ginsburg working out at the gym, with her trainer there. Yeah. So we need to work our mind out, work our consciousness out. Okay, so we start out visualizing the Medicine Buddha. Visualization does not mean you see it as clearly as you see it with your eyes. It does not mean that your mental consciousness becomes your visual consciousness and you see something like that. Okay? It means imagine. If I asked you to think of your bedroom, do you have an image in your mind of your bedroom? Is your bedroom here right now? I hope not. Okay, I don't see any beds in here. But you have an image of your bedroom, don't you? Okay. If I say, think of your mother, even if your mother's no longer alive, even your eyes are open, do you have an image in your mind of what your mom looks like? Okay. So that's visualization. Here, we're trying to visualize the Buddha. Why can we visualize our mother and our bedroom, and especially pizza, easier than we can visualize the Medicine Buddha? It is because of habit and training, okay? When you do a sadhana repeatedly, then, Medicine Buddha becomes like a friend, and, you have that image of Medicine Buddha in your mind. And that's really nice, because then when you run into difficulties in your life, your friend, the Medicine Buddha, is there. So the Medicine Buddha we can see as our guide to full awakening. We can also see the Medicine Buddha as our role model and who we want to become like in the future. Okay. Becoming like the Medicine Buddha doesn't mean that, you will appear blue, and you'll go into your office on Monday and you are now blue. Okay, that's not what we're talking about, but about the qualities the Medicine Buddha has. Yeah, and developing those qualities, and then further along on the path, then there's ways to also transform the body. But there we're talking about the subtle body, not this body. Okay, so we imagine Medicine Buddha, our best friend, who's never going to backstab us, who's never going to be unappreciative, who's never going to harass us, And we take refuge in the Medicine Buddha, and in the, he's the Buddha, his mind is the Dharma. He's also a member of the Arya Sangha, those who have realized the nature of reality, the emptiness of inherent existence. Okay, so he embodies the three jewels, our objects of refuge. And we take refuge and generate bodhicitta, in the first recitation there that we make. Why does everything start out with refuge and bodhicitta? When we take refuge, we are clarifying in our own mind what our spiritual direction is. Okay, and who we're relying on to guide us in that direction. And when we generate bodhicitta, we're clarifying for ourselves why we are going in that direction, why we are doing that practice, because we want to become Buddhas ourselves, to have the greatest capacity to be of the greatest benefit to sentient beings. Okay, so clarifying those two things in our mind is very, very important. And that's why, like everything we do, starts out with refuge and bodhicitta. Because if you don't know what spiritual direction you're going in, you can get really confused. You take out the newspaper, even our local Newport newspaper lists all the places where you can go worship. Not all of them, I mean, but many of them. Now, if you go to a different place each time, and, one time you're with the Catholics, then you're with the evangelicals, then maybe you go to the Buddhists, you go to the Hindus. I haven't seen the Hindus in the local paper, Then you go to the ayahuasca people, doing this new drug called toad, which is made from a toad. I had never heard of it before. So, but it is quick, cheap, and easy. It brings you some big thing real quick, and you're not even high that long, and it transforms everything in your life. I mean, isn't that what you wanted? Quick, cheap, easy. And we're teaching something long, slow, gradual, long, gradual, and difficult. Okay, but this one works. In the long term. So, if we're constantly changing, who we rely on for spiritual guidance and what path we're following. Yeah. If one day crystals, that's the big thing that's going to really do it for me, how we put all these crystals, and the next day you have your ayahuasca, and the next day, you go to church and you take the Eucharist, is that what you call it? The Eucharist, if they let you. Depends on your political views whether they'll let you take it. That's the big controversy now. Yeah, some of the American bishops do not want to let people who favor abortion take the Eucharist. So they want to tell Joe Biden, our president, that he cannot take the Eucharist. Yeah. Is that the kind of compassion Jesus was talking about? Anyway, think about it. Yeah. What does compassion mean? What does it mean to be compassionate? Yeah. Is that compassion? Yeah. So anyway, back to my point. Every day you're changing what your spiritual path is and who's guiding you. You're going to get really confused. Yeah. So here we have done our homework. We've learned about the Buddha Dharma. We've thought about it and tested it and see, is this reasonable? Does it make sense? Yeah. Can you prove it using reason and logic? And when we get into talking about the ultimate truth, that's the real test, of using reasoning and logic to really figure out how things actually exist, and then going beyond using the intellect to directly perceive that nature. Okay? But we have to start out with things making sense. Otherwise, what in the world are we doing? Okay? So you look at it using logic. You try it out with your own experience. Yeah? When you do these meditations, do they help you? When you try and change your mind, does it help, transform your minds using the antidotes? Does it help you? That doesn't mean that you do the meditation once and hallelujah, your problems are solved. We're not talking about that. We're talking about really trying it out and immersing ourselves in it and seeing if it works. Yeah. And seeing if it makes sense. Okay. And then we choose our spiritual direction. We choose who's going to guide us. Yeah. We don't do it because somebody else is threatening us with hell if we don't do it. Okay. We should not have any of our practice being influenced by threats of hell. Okay. Having said that, sometimes the masters do talk about the possibility of being reborn in hell, but they're not threatening us because nobody sends us there. Our own mind creates the cause for that kind of rebirth. Okay. Nobody else, that's the thing, nobody else can send us to hell. They can tell us to go to hell, and I'm sure they do, but they cannot send us to hell. Okay, our own non-virtuous actions do that. Okay, so refuge and bodhicitta. Who our spiritual guides are, what direction we're going in, why we're going in that direction. And you'll notice it's very important, especially in this particular tradition of Buddhism, that we're going there with a motivation of compassion, with a motivation of altruism. We're not looking only for our own liberation. We're not looking only for a good rebirth, although those are beneficial side effects of practicing compassion. Then we do the 4 immeasurables, which increase our attitude, our altruism. So the first one is equanimity. So developing a mind that sees all sentient beings as equal, without attachment to some and aversion to others. Yeah, that would be really nice. It doesn't mean you're indifference. Equanimity doesn't mean indifference. It doesn't mean, oh yeah, you're all equal, I don't care about any of you. Yeah. No, it means that we don't play favorites. Our mind doesn't play favorite toward one and, have adversity and anger towards another. It means that we have some openness and care and concern about everybody. Okay. Then the second one, wishing sentient beings happiness, that is love. The third one, wishing them to be free of suffering, that's compassion. And the fourth one, never to be separated from sorrowless bliss, is rejoicing, rejoicing at others' good circumstances. Then we generate the special bodhicitta, again reinforcing our motivation of kindness and compassion and altruism. Okay. Then we do this 7-limb prayer. Yeah. And this prayer is specifically for purifying the mind and for accumulating merit. Okay. Now, merit. What in the world is merit? Yeah, I don't know about you, but when I first heard the word merit, I thought of gold stars on my spelling test. Okay, that is not the meaning of merit in Buddhism. There is not a good translation for the word merit. Sometimes we say positive potential. That's kind of what merit is. It's potential to bring really good results because we created a virtuous cause. Okay, so that's what merit is. And when we talk about purification and accumulation of merit, the example is like if you want to plant a garden. Okay, so when you plant, you have to first till the earth. You have to take out the rocks. You have to take out the bubblegum wrappers, and the broken shards of glass, and and the knapweed, and the daisies, and the hackweed, and everything else. Okay, so you have to take all that rubbish out, and then you have to add fertilizer and water, and it has to be the right temperature. And then when you plant the seeds, because the soil has been well prepared, the seeds will grow. Yeah, you don't need to dig the seeds up every day to see if they've sprouted, because you've created the good conditions, and the seeds will sprout. So similarly, our mind is like the ground. Okay, we purify it, meaning we look at our actions in our whole life, and we see what things we don't feel good about having done, and we make amends in our mind. And there's a process of the 4 opponent powers. When somebody leads the meditation, maybe next session, stop at the here and do the 4 opponent powers. 4 opponent powers helps us cleanse the mind of non-virtue, the seeds of non-virtue that our unskillful, harmful actions have planted in our own mind. Yeah. Accumulating merit, doing good actions. Yeah. Generosity. fortitude, reaching out and benefiting others, having a kind attitude, caring about other sentient beings without attachment. Okay, so these kinds of things are like the water and the fertilizer. They enhance the mind, they fertilize the mind. Hearing teachings is like planting the seed. Yeah, you plant the seed through hearing the teachings. And then you reflect on the teachings, you meditate on them, you discuss them, yeah, and the seeds start to sprout into understanding, so that you begin to really understand the teachings at a much deeper level. Okay, so these 7 here are designed for purification and accumulation of merit. They're just one line, but actually each line you can meditate on for a long time. Yeah, if you really understand the meaning of it, you can spend a long time on this 7-limb prayer. Okay, so the first one is making prostrations. So I talked a bit yesterday about the importance of showing respect to those worthy of respect, and showing respect to the qualities that they embody. So it's the qualities that really are worthy of respect. The second one is making offerings. So that we talked about too, cultivating generosity and how important that is. Yeah, here we're making offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We make physical offerings. There's some apricots and a tangerine and some flowers and water bowls and lights. So we make physical offerings. Yeah. We do that not because the Buddha needs these. Okay, again, you think the Buddha is, going to get so excited because you gave him 3 avocados and a tangerine? Yeah. You think Buddha's going, yippee, finally they offered avocados. I've been craving these. Yeah, Buddha doesn't care. Buddha doesn't need this stuff. Okay, we make offerings because we need to create the merit. We need to learn how to be generous, how to give, how not to be like I was in my maroon sweater story, maroon cashmere sweater story. So making offerings helps us develop that generous mind. The third one is confessing, and not just confessing. It's because I looked this up. Confessing is admitting our mistakes. Repentance is making amends. I tend not to like Christian words very much, especially when I think of somebody shouting, "Repent, sinners!" Yeah, that doesn't inspire me, at all. It quite turns me off. But the word repentance, when you look it up, it does mean that you start to make amends. So maybe we can say, confess and make amends. Yeah. So what that does is that we're holding ourselves. No, we are accepting responsibility for our own actions. We are holding ourselves accountable. Okay, so we aren't poo-pooing things. We aren't rationalizing, justifying, excusing, blaming somebody else for the things we did that we know inside of our hearts were not so good to do. Okay, now we've all done those things, so there's no reason to be ashamed. Yeah. Having regret, which is the first of the 4 opponent powers, does not mean we feel shame. It means we feel regret. There's a difference between shame and regret. It does not mean we feel guilty. Again, shame, guilt, all these emotions in which we tell ourselves that we are horrible people, those are not to be cultivated on the Buddhist path. Yeah, they are not helpful at all. Regret means I regret doing that action. Why? Because it harms somebody else, and when I harm others, I also harm myself. And I create the negative karma that's going to ripen in an unpleasant experience for myself, and I regret doing that. I don't feel guilty. Okay, did you notice the tone of voice I said regret in? Yeah. When you feel guilty, how do you talk to yourself? What's your internal tone of voice when you feel guilty? How could I have done that? That is so terrible. Oh my God. Oh, I just blew it totally. What is wrong with me? Guilt is that tone of voice. Okay. Shame is, I'm defective goods. Yeah. And this action is one more proof of how I am inherently defective. Okay. Notice, what word did you keep hearing when we talked about guilt and when we talk about shame? What word did you keep hearing? I. Yeah. I am the worst one ever. Okay? This was a form of arrogance, remember? If I can't be the best, I'm going to be the worst. Yeah. And this kind of guilt and shame is what brings all those extreme statements we say to ourselves, which are lies. I am hopeless. Yeah. No wonder nobody loves me. I can mess up everything. Gee, you're really powerful. Look how powerful I am. I can mess up everything. Yeah. No other people can do that. No other causes are necessary. You just have me there, and it's going to be a disaster. Okay. This is extreme language. This is extreme, and it's not true. Okay. And if your mind says, oh, but it is, I really am like that, then you say to yourself, fake news. Because this is a very good example of fake news. Yeah. It's not even alternative facts. It doesn't rise to the level of alternative facts. It is completely fake. Okay. So we regret what we did. We cultivate a good attitude towards whoever or whatever it was that we misbehaved towards. Okay, that's the second opponent power. We do some kind of behavior that will make amends, or we do something virtuous, basically. We put our mind in a good direction. And then we make an intention not to do that kind of action again. Okay, so these are called the 4 opponent powers. That's a very brief explanation of them. Okay, but that's the third of the 7 limb prayers. Let's stop here and see if you have questions or comments. Why do we have it in here? Okay. The special bodhicitta is when you say, I must quickly and more quickly in this very life. Okay. That thought you can do we should do in every sadhana. Okay. So we aspire to quickly attain awakening, but we don't expect to. Okay. So we don't feel like a failure at the end of the sadhana when we aren't, totally, manifesting as Buddhas. But we aspire to become like that. Yeah. Other questions or comments?
With some of the practices, it seems like we visualize the refuge field with Shakyamuni Buddha first, then after we do the refuge and 4 immeasurables, we dissolve that into ourselves, and then we generate the field of merit with the deity. But here we visualize the medicine Buddha from the start.
Yeah.
Is there a difference, or we can do either way?
You can do it either way. Okay. I think starting out visualizing the deity is much simpler and easier for people than visualizing the whole refuge tree, dissolving it, and then visualizing the deity. But the purpose is the same. Okay, so you could do it the other way if you want to. Yeah.
Why does the medicine Buddha have his tongue out?
Oh, those are his lips. His tongue isn't out. Yeah, he's not sticking out his tongue. Okay. Yeah. In the break time, go take a look. It's just, that the color of his mouth from a distance, it's the same color as his tongue, but no, he doesn't have his tongue out. Okay. Yeah, he's not sticking his tongue out at you. Yeah.
Hi. So on the same subject of the tanka, in other traditions I practice, the medicine Buddha doesn't have the yellow robe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? And then this one has a yellow robe on it. Is there a difference with that?
What does he have in the...
Without just naked, or am I confused?
Oh, yeah, that's probably in the Nyingma tradition, Samantabhadra.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Samantabhadra, but I thought there was a medicine Buddha without a robe. Or do they always have a robe?
If it's completely without any clothes,
that's Samantabhadra.
That's Samantabhadra.
But there's not one in between.
I haven't seen one.
I'll maybe if I find a picture, I'll share.
Yeah, okay. If you do, we can look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've always seen
with the robe.
Wearing monastic robes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay, then we will dedicate.